first question, describe what the data shows in figure 2. You can clearly see that in all the groups there's a steep increase up to about 1,200 kilojoules per hour, and then it's either a more gradual increase or it starts to level off. So you can see if you're going to average the trends out, you get something like this: a steep increase up to about 1,200 kilojoules per hour, and then a less steep increase. You can also see that in 2 of the groups it continues to increase, and 2 of the group it levels off. So in young men and in young women, so both in the young groups, it continues to rise after 1,200. In both the middle-aged groups it starts to level off after 2,100 kilojoules per hour. So also you can see there is an overlap for men at 0 at rest, and there's an overlap for women at rest as well. So there's no significant difference between young and old men or young and old women at the start. But then at the end, the highest intensity, there is a significant difference for each group because there's no overlap in standard deviations. When we get into the last question, there's important bits that you need from this to be able to evaluate the study. So we can see here that we've got a very large sample size, so that means it's representative. We can see here that we're using the general public, so that's a mix of fitnesses, so it's more representative for the whole population. And also we can see that the age ranges of men and women were not controlled. We know this affects heart rate, so it's not comparable. This also uses men and women, so again, if you're making a conclusion about everybody in the public, then this is more representative because it includes gender as well. So we're going to describe the data for figure 3. We can see that the older people have a lower heart rate, so we can see that here. So the older people have a lower heart rate, and the older people have a higher stroke volume as well. But both of these are not significantly lower because the standard deviations overlap. So if you take the standard deviation away, you get 58. If you add the standard deviation on, you get 62. So now this number is higher. So that's an overlap. If you do a similar thing over here, to the lower mean you add the standard deviation, to the higher mean you take away the standard deviation, and you can see there's now a low overlap there. So there's no significant difference in either. So it's not significantly lower and it's not significantly higher for stroke volume. Both investigations do produce different results for the effect of ageing and stroke volume. You can see here, ageing actually increases stroke volume, whereas in the other study, it decreased stroke volume compared with younger groups. Okay, so why do older men have a greater cardiac output? You can see here that this is the formula for working out cardiac output, so it's stroke volume times by heart rate. You see in the young people, their stroke volume is 94, the heart rate is 61, so this would be their cardiac output. Whereas in older people, they've got a higher stroke volume. Yes, they've got a lower heart rate, but when you times them together, it gives you a larger number. So they've got a larger cardiac output, so there's more blood pumped out per beat. So the units for this, centimetres cubed per minute. Then just linking to the last question, comparing with the statements that we said before, if we're trying to make a comparison which produces more reliable results for the general public, this isn't going to be particularly reliable because it's a sports club, so the people are not going to have healthier hearts, you would have thought, so it's not as representative. It doesn't include as many sort of groups of fitness. Tiny sample size, a much smaller sample size, so that means it's less representative, not as representative, so again less reliable. But one way in which this is better, because we're trying to see the effect of age on stroke volume, is that this does give more clear-cut ages. So you've got under 21s and you've got over 40s, whereas study Y, you didn't know the age of the people. It was classified as young and old, but no definition of what that was.